morning. Welcome to the Green Hour on FM91. We are talking air quality, pollution, and you. Special guest this morning, Abid Omar, founder, Pakistan Air Quality Initiative. This is a community-driven initiative to set up low-cost, real-time monitors to capture air quality and thereby increase social awareness through some of this air quality data. Abid Omar joins us. Good morning, Abid, and thank you for being here on Green Hour.
Thank you very much for having me here to talk about this important issue.
Now, I just wanted to say that I know you can't see, but you'll be able to see us on YouTube later on. And for those of you watching, Abid, you've got the little contraption with you, and I want to start there, and that'll be a great segue into why it is that you decided this was a part of your mission, and you set up PAQI. What is that?
So what we have here is a little handheld air quality monitor, and we're looking at carbon dioxide levels inside the FM91 studios.
Yeah.
And we all know that carbon dioxide is a big issue and a cause for concern when it comes to climate change. But it's also a cause for concern for indoor air quality, which is a different topic than outdoor air quality.
Okay.
Indoor, when all the rooms and windows and doors are shut, the carbon dioxide levels build up. And that's coming from our own breathing, exhaling out carbon dioxide in this room. And right now, the number is 1,200 parts per million.
Yeah.
Which is well above safe limits, and these kind of levels cause fatigue, cause you to feel tired. You lose concentration and focus. So indoor air quality is equally important as outdoor air pollution.
So for indoors, so right now it's reading at 1256 parts per million. What is the safe sort of CO2 level indoors?
The max number that you're looking at should be 800.
800 is like a safe zone. Within 800 is a safe zone. So how do we in a room, an indoor environment, how do we sort of make this number better?
Indoor, it's very easy. Just ventilate. Open the window for a bit. Open the door. Let fresh air come in.
Yeah.
And you're good to go. But that's the unfortunate part about building design in Pakistan is that, there's no room for ventilation. Everything is closed. We're just circulating indoor air constantly. And with I just see now that the number's gone up to 1,300. I mean, by the end of this conversation, we'll be totally unfocused on what we're talking about.
So this is because there's a lot of people in here, and it's a closed, sort of soundproof kind of room, and that was
exactly
attributed, right?
And this is also surrogate reading for other things in the air. So the same way that carbon dioxide is building up in this room, you also have airborne viruses and bacteria. The last years we've been very concerned about coronavirus in the air. So when these levels build up, you can assume that if somebody is infected and they're breathing out coronavirus, the concentration of that builds up. And that's actually why I'm still wearing a mask indoors, is because you never know who's infected.
And I want to get to that too. I want to get to your mask because at the moment the world is doing away with masks, and there's a lot of there's a counter narrative that suggests that mask wearing really doesn't make a difference. But we'll get into that in just a bit. I'm curious as to your why to starting PAQI.
The why is a one-word answer: curiosity. I just wanted to know what was in the air. That curiosity came from the time I used to live in Beijing, China, which at that time in the early 2010s was the most polluted city in the world. And people over there used to say that this is not smog, this is just fog. And I'd be like, but I have data to prove it, because there was some open data existing for Chinese cities. And I'd show those numbers to people and they simply wouldn't believe it. But the numbers really showed otherwise. And fast forward a few years later, like we everyone knows that Beijing is one of the most polluted. But that led me to think that people in Lahore would say the same thing, that in the winter months in December there's so much fog, planes can't land, there are traffic jams and traffic accidents because there's no visibility. And I was like, is this really fog? Because I recall Lahore being very different when I'd go there in my childhood in the 90s, that that, fog wasn't a major issue. Yes, you'd have a few days of fog in the year, but it wasn't a constant issue where it starts in November and goes on till January, February. And so back in 2015, I just bought a consumer air quality monitor off the shelf and took it with me, brought it with me from China to Lahore and took it around. And I was like, okay, now I know what the air quality is like. But that wasn't enough. Like me getting a snapshot for that one instant wasn't enough. We needed to know how it differs between rush hour and nighttime, between seasons, between the spring, fall, winter. And that's what we learned, that in the winter, the pollution levels get extremely high, with Lahore today being the most polluted city in the world.
Wow. How do we get to this? Well, we know how we got to this. How do we get out of this?
That's a very thorny issue. How do we get out of it? Like, on one hand, the solutions exist, right? Like let's say one of the causes of air pollution is urban waste. Like, urban waste is the kachra that we throw out on the streets every day. There's no proper mechanism for urban waste management here, and the solution is literally, if you see trash, you pick it up and you arrange to have it taken to a landfill or some other waste management system. That doesn't really exist in Pakistan. So this waste, these kachra kundis that we've built up all over the city, and we rely on trash pickers, which are essentially like the lowest income people who go there and scavenge for plastics and other precious resources, but everything else is kind of festering there, and eventually it'll go away from your posh residential areas like in PCHS or the cantonments or the DHAs, and from there it gets transported to the outskirts of the city, but it doesn't really go that far. And this trash releases a lot of pollution. So you have methane gas coming out. There's also, it's lit on fire as a disposal mechanism. So then you have all the combustion issues that are happening. So, but again, what is the solution? Just have a waste management system. And that unfortunately lies in the realm of government policy.
Which we've said over and over again, week in, week out. We have, but ... You mentioned air pollution a number of times. What is air pollution and what is air quality?
So we were speaking about how indoor air quality is also a factor, right? Like, when it gets hot, for example, we turn on the air conditioning. That's also improving the air quality by bringing the temperature down. However, when you go outdoors, you're concerned more about air pollution. And that too, you're not measuring everything when you're talking about outdoor air. Like carbon dioxide is not something you measure outdoors as a pollutant, because the levels that you find outdoors are a cause for climate change, but they're not a health concern. So we measure the key pollutants which have an impact on health and which are often found in levels high enough. So we look at combustion byproducts, so from transportation, so from your cars and trucks and buses, so carbon monoxide, for example, sulfur oxide, nitrogen oxide, and of course, like the all-encompassing one, which is called PM 2.5, that stands for particulate matter of 2.5 micrograms in size. And here a little segue on what PM 2.5 is, because a lot of people, when they hear the word particle, they assume that we're talking about dust. But actually, when you go down to that size, you're smaller than a blood cell. And that particle is so small, when you breathe it in, it doesn't stop in your respiratory system. It goes through your lungs, it goes through your blood vessels, and it causes havoc all over your body. So PM 2.5 these days is the leading cause of sickness and death worldwide. It creates more health issues than smoking. It can lead to heart condition. It can lead to cancer. So it's not just respiratory issues like asthma or allergies that we're talking about.
We are Green Hour this morning talking to Abid Omar, founder of Pakistan Air Quality Initiative. Welcome back to the Green Hour here on FM91. We're talking to Abid Omar, founder of Pakistan Air Quality Initiative. Now let's have a look at the monitor, Abid. So what is it showing now?
As we've been sitting in this
1451.
room, and this studio is nicely isolated from outside air, we're at hazardous CO2 levels indoors.
So right now, just FYI, this air monitor, right? That's the proper word for it, the technical term. 1,451 parts per million, which is now going into sort of hazardous levels of CO2. And just we are in a studio environment, closed doors, soundproof, etc. So just quick recap. So air quality, we're talking indoors, and air pollution and outdoors, and air pollution both indoors and outdoors, correct?
Correct.
And there's ways we can, you spoke about Lahore being the most polluted city in the world. That's confirmed.
That is very much confirmed.
As much as I really? No, come on. We are talking air quality. Let's talk about Karachi. Well, what is the air like in Karachi?
Today is a wonderful day in Karachi. The air quality is actually good.
No way.
So,
within, say, like the green.
Within all of Karachi, because Karachi is a city which is fortunate to have the sea breeze for about half the year, and that sea breeze is basically a very strong wind that blows away all the pollution and all the emissions that we create, and that's what keeps the air within acceptable limits during the summer months. Come winter, the situation changes.
These days you have, I often, as a father, you want, the best environment, and, want them to grow up in a safe and, less pollution, etc., etc. And I often think, we hear of vaporizers, air vaporizer, air humidifiers, and so on. And I think, well, I'll have them in the house, but when you step out, you're stepping out into a polluted environment, you come back in, doesn't that sort of knock the system out of whack just for a bit? There's good air quality, and then you go out and there's this poor air quality, and there's this sort of to and froing. Number one. Number two, as a follow-up to that, and I'll let you respond, is how can we drastically improve the air quality for ourselves?
So that is a thing that's often heard about, that in Pakistan, if you're going to be living in a cleaner environment, like, when you have an air purifier indoors, and you'll just get this shock to your body when you go outside. But that is actually so wrong. When you're going outside is when you're getting the shock. That is when your body starts fighting all those pollutants and all the other things that are in the air. So it's not just air pollution that we have in the air, it's also viruses and bacteria. We spoke about all the trash lying all over the city. You just walk around or drive around in the streets, you see trash everywhere. So all of this stuff is constantly attacking your system. And that impacts childhood development, say how tall and strong you grow. It also affects mental development, because your body is constantly struggling and fighting. So and similarly, let's talk about water, because we all drink clean water nowadays. Like back when I was growing up, there was no such thing as bottled water. We would all bring home our water and boil it, if anything. But today, everyone's drinking bottled water, and that's not to say, we shouldn't be drinking bottled water. We should be drinking the water that comes straight out of the tap, because the clean water is bad for a system. You start having dirty water, you'll be constantly having health issues, you'll have diarrhea, and all of these things are compounding and they build up. So living in a cleaner environment is very important, and when you're outdoors, you take measures to avoid your exposure. Masks is one of those things that you can do too.
Sorry, would you want to continue before I step into masks?
Coming back to what you can do to protect yourself. So let's start with the indoors, right?
Yeah.
You spoke about humidifiers and vaporizers and things. Well, in Karachi, you don't really need humidifiers, at least in the summer, because it's very humid over here. In the winters, yes, but humidifiers just increase your comfort level, and they do have a certain impact on, if you're asthmatic or if you have respiratory issues. But the things that we're really concerned about is what's causing that asthma or those respiratory issues. And for example, if you have high levels of nitrogen dioxide in your air, that means your entire respiratory system is inflamed all the time, and any allergies that you might have just get much worse. So for that, you remove all those pollutants from the air. You have an air purifier. You make sure you get one which has a HEPA filter and an activated carbon filter to remove not just particulate matter, but also the trace gases. And frankly, that's the only thing that you can do. Coming to masks, a mask is exactly the same as an air purifier. An air purifier is cleaning the air in the room. The same filter technology in a mask is in an air purifier. purifier, except the mask is giving you personal protection. And there's no such thing as 100% protection. We've all heard the term that if you wear a mask, wear an N95 mask, don't wear a surgical mask, or don't wear a cloth mask. So that's what the number 95 means, that it filters out 95% of the dangerous pollutants that are in the air, but not 100%. And again, if the mask is not of good quality, if the seal is not good, if it doesn't fit your face that well, then it's not going to protect you as much. But something is better than nothing. These masks are very expensive, so I tell people that in Karachi, luckily it's not that bad, but in Punjab, in Lahore, in Faisalabad, in Bhavalpur, in Rawalpindi, air pollution is constantly at hazardous levels. Like even right now, you asked how's the air in Karachi. The air in Karachi is actually good, but in Punjab it's bad and it's unhealthy in all the cities. So, and that's the time that you bring out a mask,
including Islamabad, which is less, you'd imagine, less polluted. And
well, Islamabad is not geographically that far from Lahore or Rawalpindi, right? Like, so the same emissions make their way to Islamabad. Yes, Islamabad is generally better, but the question is how much better. It's worse in Karachi generally.
So I'm just looking at the monitor, it's 15. I think we need to step out. Just get some air.
Step out for a cigarette break.
Dear. Yeah, I'm in the studio every morning for 3 hours, and never ever did I even think, well, I wonder what the air quality is like right now. But now I'm thinking about it and looking at it, and it's visible, right? I can see it changing. Just going back to the masks, and I noticed obviously you're wearing one, but the world as we speak is the mandate, or the wearing of masks being mandatory, is those sort of things are being lifted now, and a lot of people, in fact majority I'd say, aren't wearing masks anymore, but you still choose to wear a mask. There is a counter narrative that suggests, well, why not build a stronger immunity, and because the mask doesn't mean that you're not going to get it, so then what's the point?
Well, nothing means that you're going to get something or not going to get something. It's really a question of adding on layers of protection. The whole confusion about the mask mandate was that you had very mixed political messaging coming from the WHO and from various CDCs, whether in the US or Europe. So this messaging has led to a lot of confusion, and also led to what is hygiene theater of, like, you're using antimicrobial hand wipes and hand sanitizers. Like, those don't really do the job. Like, the only thing that works against airborne virus, coronavirus, is a mask. But because it became a political issue, like, people aren't mandating masks anymore. But if you look at all the smart scientists who work in this field, everyone says wear a mask. And again, it's layers of protection, right? Like, you might have gotten the vaccine, that's one layer. If you add on a mask, that's another layer. Some people are still in social isolation and not really going out and meeting too many people, or going for indoor dining. So, I mean, these are all precautions that you take.
We're speaking to Abid Omar this morning. Coming up in just a bit, we've got rapid fire. We're going to get some fresh air. This is Green Hour. Back straight after this. Back to the Green Hour. This is FM91. Abid Omar joining us, founder of Pakistan Air Quality Initiative. It is time now for the rapid fire. Ready, Abid? Here we go. What activity contributes most to air pollution that will result in ill health?
Driving around, using cars, the poor fuel in Pakistan.
What does air quality have to do with climate change and global warming?
Air quality and climate change are two sides of the same coin. Air pollution, you talk about gases that you emit in the air. Some of those gases also contribute to global warming.
What is the biggest lesson from COVID about air quality? What's the biggest lesson that we should be learning about air quality?
Oh, wow. The biggest lesson is ventilation, let in fresh air. If you're in Lahore, you can't ventilate because the outside air is worse than the indoor air. So it's the hyper awareness that we've had about the air around us.
So just quickly digress. What do we do in that situation then?
What do?
Yeah.
You wear a mask, get an air purifier.
Okay. Can we smell bad air quality with our nose?
You can't see or smell air pollution most of the time. You have to use special instruments to detect it.
What's the best precaution from bad air if you have no choice but to live in that kind of environment?
Avoid outdoor activities. Try to stay more inside the house or the office.
And one of these monitors, we've got one of these monitors. How much does an air quality monitor cost typically?
So they cost anywhere between 20,000 rupees to 100,000 rupees.
We're talking to Abid Omar. We're going to head to a quick and be back. That was our rapid fire on Green Hour. This is Green Hour, Pakistan Air Quality Initiative. How you can get involved. We're speaking to Abid Omar this morning. Before we let you go, there's a couple of things. Number one, it was just made known to me that the air quality in Karachi is better than the air quality in Islamabad. Now, I would have, and I think this is just from a layperson's perspective, the air quality, I would have expected Islamabad air quality to be much better because it's hilly, it's greener, there seems to be less pollution, but it's quite the opposite.
That's because greenery and plants and trees help with sequestering carbon dioxide, but they don't help remove all the pollutants that we're putting out in the air. The emissions from your cars, the nitrogen dioxide coming from your petrol car, the sulfur dioxide coming from your diesel trucks and buses. Similarly, all the other activities that we do, like all the particulate matter that is in the air, the carbon monoxide, plants and greenery don't remove those. And so all those levels build up. And also Islamabad is geographically in the same issue as the rest of Punjab, which, like earlier we said that Karachi is very lucky to have the sea breeze. On the other hand, Punjab is unlucky to face what's called a temperature inversion, where all the pollution stays trapped in and is not able to escape.
So you want good air quality? Come down to Karachi. Now, the Pakistan Air Quality Initiative, this is community driven. How can we get more involved with this?
So Pakistan has a lack of air quality data.
Yeah.
When we started working on this, there was no data for air pollution. Nobody knew how good or bad the air is in the different cities of Pakistan. So we started this as a crowdsourced community initiative where we literally asked people to buy a monitor, put it in their homes or their offices, and mostly we're a group of individuals who've all we've done is installed an air monitor and made the data publicly available. We do have a few good corporate citizens as well. For example, Beacon House Schools has put up 3-4 monitors. A few companies have put up a few monitors. But that's really not enough. In all of Pakistan, putting together all the cities, we just have 50 monitors. I'd like to see at least 50 just in Karachi alone and 50 in Lahore and in Islamabad. So we need to get those numbers up. And that's how you can contribute by discussing with us, reach out to us on social media, on Pak Air Quality, and find out what is the right air quality monitor to install and how to make that data available to the public. And I think even more importantly is that you have to start talking about this issue, because talking is what spreads awareness. That's what creates the pressure to eventually change things for the better. So if we start talking to the media, talking to our friends, our families, our schools, our work colleagues, our class fellows, and say that air pollution is something we need to work on, eventually the government will take notice and start implementing solutions.
So that's Pak Air Quality on Instagram?
On Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, we're everywhere as Pak Air Quality.
If you could hand me that monitor before we say sort of... So right now, I'm just holding up to the camera. It's 1,684 parts per million. That's carbon dioxide in the studio. Huge difference. We took this outside the studio, and Abid went down to what, 6?
It went down to about 600.
600. Huge, just through that door. But the key is ventilation. Get some outside air in your rooms, at home, etc. Just open the windows once in a while. Abid Omar from PAQI, Pakistan Air Quality Initiative. That's Pak Air Quality on Twitter, on Instagram, and on Facebook. Abid, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
This is the Green Hour on FM91. We'll be back with more on Green Hour here on FM91. Thank you.